Do you ever feel like your finances are more confusing than trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while riding a roller coaster? Well, you're not alone. But fear not, because today we are diving into the brilliant minds of finance gurus who have navigated these turbulent waters successfully. These 5 individuals have left the greatest impact on my financial being, and I wish to share with you all what I have learned from them. So welcome to my countdown of the top 5 finance masterminds and their greatest lessons. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Wealth Game Nation. My name is Vedo and I'm here to help you better understand the Wealth Game and become part of Wealth Game Nation. In this video, we will be exploring the invaluable wisdom of 5 financial legends who have made waves in the world of money management. These people have literally turned cents into millions, and they have left a world of knowledge for us, which I will now do my best to share with you. So grab your piggy banks, sharpen your pencils, and let's get started with my Mount Rushmore of money management. Finally, before we start, I want to point out that this list outlines the chronological order in which I came to learn about these individuals throughout my life. First up, Robert Kiyosaki. We will call him the Cashflow King. I encountered him while I was still in high school and I was preparing to go to US to college. As English is not my first language, in order to improve my skills, I started reading books in English on topics that interest me. Those topics were personal finance, wealth building, real estate investing, stock market investing, and so on. Among many other books, I read the 3 books by Rich Dad Poor Dad, which are number 1, his original book in which he explains the difference between assets and liabilities. As a high school kid, this was eye-opening to me. Ever since then, I have realized that 99% of what we buy are liabilities. Whoever said that your house is an asset lied to you. Whoever said that your car is an asset also lied to you. Number 2, the Cashflow Quadrant. This book has left the biggest impression of me and has led me through my financial life the most ever since I read it. As a reminder, here is the Cashflow Quadrant in a nutshell. On the left side of the quadrant, we have something called employees and self-employed. This is where you trade in your time for money. On the right side of the quadrant, there is business owner and investor. This is where you no longer work for your money, but you let your money work for you. In this book, Robert Kiyosaki talks about how it is unstable to have one source of income. He compares it to a table standing on one leg. Then he compares those 4 types of income as a table standing on 4 legs. Meaning, the more incomes you have, the more stability does your financial life has. Third, I read Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. To be honest, back then I did not understand much of it, and I went back in my 30s and reread the book. His famous quotes are, "Don't work for money and let money work for you." And when life gives you lemons, turn them into a lemon stand. So I put his greatest lessons on what are assets, what are liabilities, and his explanation of the Cashflow Quadrant. Next up, Warren Buffett. We will call him the Quirky Quoter. I encountered him next while I was in my 20s during my college years. He is the old-timer known for many catchy quotes. Besides the catchy quotes, he is also undeniably the greatest investor of all times and has been able to outperform the S&P 500 by a wide margin. His track record is an annual average return of 19.8% ever since 1965. For context, the S&P 500 has been able to return 9.9% for the same time period. He would tell us things like, rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. Then, price is what you pay, value is what you get. Then he would say things like, it's far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price. Then, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Then he would say things like, our favorite holding period is forever. About savings, he would say, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving, and so on. For me, his greatest lesson is his stance on cash. Even though Warren Buffett has never uttered the words economic cycle, I guarantee you he is a master of it. I made a full video on how has Warren Buffett been able to outperform the S&P 500 for such a long period of time, and spoiler alert, it is because of his stance on cash and his understanding of the economic cycle. If you're interested in that video, the link to that video is in the description of this video. I suggest check it out and you will not regret it. So if you ever find yourself behind Warren Buffett at a buffet, follow his lead. Get the dessert while everybody is still getting the salad. Next up, Benjamin Graham. We'll call him the Granddaddy of value investing. I encountered him also in my 20s when I was getting really interested in investing. His book, The Intelligent Investor, is a masterpiece. It always blows my mind how accurate that book is, even though it came out more than 70 years ago. He is known for saying, the stock market is a voting machine in the short run and a weighing machine in the long run. His most important lesson, in my opinion, is the lesson on margin of safety, or so-called risk premium ratio. In short, Benjamin Graham explains that the investors should be compensated for risks that they are taking when investing in individual stocks. He argues that the returns of an individual stock investment should be much higher than a return on a 10-year bond yield. For example, if a 10-year bond yield is giving 4%, then, for example, a free cash flow yield of a company should be much higher than 4%, for example, 7%. The difference between 4 and 7% is what he refers to as margin of safety. Next one, Peter Lynch. We'll call him the stock whisperer. This guy could have been a comedian. He's my favorite investor. I have binge watched and read everything I could find on him. He is an accomplished author and a former captain of the Fidelity Magellan Fundship, where he managed to have an average annual return of 29% for 13 years, from 1977 till 1990. This is crazy outperformance of the stock market. His performance is even better than Warren Buffett's, however, it was for a much shorter period of time. I always wondered how he would have done if he hadn't retired at the age of 46. For me, his greatest lesson is on the PEG ratio, or so-called price to earnings growth. In short, the price to earnings growth ratio is when you take the forward PE expected by the analyst of a certain company and you divide it by the expected earnings growth rate for that company, also based on analyst expectations or based on your own expectations. For example, if a company A has a forward PE of 20 and the earnings growth rate is also 20, that ratio would be 20 divided by 20 is 1. Therefore, it would be fair valued. If the EPS growth rate would be 25, that according to his PEG ratio, this company seems undervalued. However, if the company's expected earnings growth rate would be around 15, then that would mean it is overvalued. That's because the PE is higher than the expected earnings growth rate. If you're interested in a full video about Peter Lynch and his wisdom, you know it, there is a link in the description of this video. You can thank me later. Last but not least, Dave Ramsey. We'll call him the Debt Demolisher. Believe it or not, I've heard the first time about Dave Ramsey in 2021 during the Rona pandemic. I have no idea how I never heard about him before. He is the author of the so-called baby steps. No idea why any grown man would call whatever he does baby steps, but whatever. Horrible name, but nonetheless, the teachings are very practical. All the vague advices from the other people in this list, Dave Ramsey makes up with his practical advices. He is known for arguing against any type of debt, which is not a 15-year fixed mortgage. He is all about having cash and not using credit cards. He is the guy who screams at other people on his radio show, which makes him a great entertainer. Even though I encountered Dave Ramsey very recently, somehow my life coincides with many things that he teaches. I always have cash on me, and I have a stash somewhere under my mattress. I don't own a credit card. I never bought a car on credit, nor would I ever do something as silly as that. And the only type of debt I have is my mortgage. I guess I was just blessed with some common sense. However, I would argue that Dave Ramsey's teachings are very rigid and they are meant for people who are not very good at money management, basically most people. But for those people who want to become financially independent and rise up above the masses, his teachings will not get you there, but they are a great starting point. In conclusion, even though these masterminds are not perfect and you probably did not get the information from them that you would have wanted, there is still a wealth of knowledge left behind them. Their lessons can still help us steer our financial ships through any storm. Now it's up to us to study them and make our own millions. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you for joining me. Now it's your turn. Share in the comment section below which finance mastermind resonates with you the most and why. I told you about my Mount Rushmore. Now you tell me about yours. Plus, if you have any other financial guru or topic that you would want me to cover in one of the next videos, let me know. If you like this video, please hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. If you did that, I would really appreciate it a lot. In case you're interested in a full review of my own stock portfolio, go check out my September 2023 portfolio update. The link is in the description of this video. Until next time, Keep stacking those Benjamins, my friends.